I guess I'm here to see a lady? Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. With all of that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Miss Meadows. I don't know what this is. I have no clue. It was a donation reward for Venom. Not a big surprise there. Thank you, Venom. I've never heard of this. I don't know what to expect at all with this movie. The title doesn't even give me anything. Miss Meadows, it's like, I assume a name. It doesn't give me anything. I don't even think it's like one of those cases where it's like, oh, it's a nickname and it's like describing this character. It's like, what does that describe? That she likes to frolic through meadows? That gives me nothing. I don't know when this came out. I don't know who's in it. I know nothing. Because, again, I've never heard of this. I don't even know if this movie is, like, well-known or if it's, like, some independent movie that just didn't do well. I feel like I at least hear about most movies. Even lesser-known ones I've at least heard of a lot of the time. But occasionally you'll get movies that I've never heard of. I don't even know, like, in some cases, if they were in theaters or if they were, like, straight to video. I don't know if it's a streaming movie, because you have to account for that nowadays. I don't know. And I've talked about this before, but that's exciting to me. Some people might not like that. There's a lot of people who will not watch a movie or play a game or anything else unless they know a good amount about it beforehand. It has to be something that they are actively interested in order for them to put their time into it. Or in some cases, their money. And I understand that point of view. It's like you don't want to put your money or your time into something that you're not sure if you're going to like, because then it could feel like you wasted your money or your time. But my view on it is I want to go into things as blind as possible. There's going to be some things that I'm already going to hear about. But if I can help it, I'm not going to look up things most of the time. I'm not going to check out all this information on all these movies and shows and games. And I want to be surprised. And yes, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes I end up being disappointed. But that also happens with games that I do know more about. That also happens with shows that I know more about. That's not just, like, exclusive to things that I have heard of. Just because something sounds like it's going to be in your wheelhouse doesn't automatically mean it is. I'll give you an example. I didn't like Red Dead Redemption 2. I know, big hot take there. in terms of video games, to specify. But I was told I would. I was told if you are enjoying The Witcher 3, if you're enjoying these other kinds of games like that, you should enjoy Red Dead Redemption 2. And the reason for that is because it's the same kind of game. It's an open world RPG. And a lot of people swear that it's like really well made and everything. A lot of people swear that it like has a great story. I played like a dozen hours or so, probably more of it, and I was not enjoying it. I don't think the gameplay was good. I don't think the controls were good. I don't think the story or characters were good. I didn't like it. I thought it was a bad game. And outside of just the general style of the game, the general genre of the game, I wouldn't compare it to stuff like Witcher 3 or Skyrim or anything like that at all. I wouldn't. And so, despite being like in a very, very big minority there, I found myself disliking a game that I thought I would like. Because, one, I was told I would like it, and two, it seemed like a kind of game I would like. But I ended up disliking it. Strongly disliking it, by the way. And the vice versa has been true too. I've ended up loving games that like people have said that I would naturally hate, or that are, you know, just generally well hated. Games like Forspoken, which I absolutely fucking adore, most people seem to dislike. Or Dragon Age the Veilguard. And this goes for movies too. There's been a lot of movies that I've been very underwhelmed with, like The Godfather. It's like, it's a good movie, but people acting like it's one of the best movies out there, it's like, it's not. At least in my opinion, it's not. It's nowhere close. Scarface, I didn't like pretty much at all. And so on and so forth. But then there's movies that people hate on that I loved. Batman v pretty much anything from the original DCU. Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman 84, Justice League, both versions technically. So I like the non-Snyder cut as well. So it's like, oh, sun lag. Sorry about that. But it's one of those things where it's like, no matter if I know about something or not, that doesn't entirely determine whether or not I'm going to like it. But some people, that's like a complete, like, non-starter for them. They have to know at least something about a movie or a show or a game or whatever before they get into it. For me, though, I prefer the opposite. I prefer to know as little as possible, especially in terms of these reactions, because it allows my opinion, whether it is good or bad, to be as untainted as possible. I'm God damn it, what's with the sudden lag? Sorry about the lag and the freezing. I don't know where that's coming from. I think my computer's trying to do something right now. Trying to run something or whatnot. Background processes, I'm sure. But anyway, whether my reaction to a movie is good or bad, I prefer to have that untainted. We live in a world where, not media literacy, that's the wrong word, obviously, the wrong term, but media consumption, I'll say, is ruled by, like, preconceived notions. People, a lot of times nowadays, refuse to see anything without first checking reviews from critics and all who got to see, like, early screeners and whatnot. They want to see reviews. They want to know, like, what these critics and people thought about the movie first. because they don't want to form their own opinions. They only want to see a movie if a critic they like said it's good. And then they'll just automatically believe it's good no matter what. If a critic says a movie is bad, they don't even have to see the movie. They'll just automatically claim it's bad because the critic said it was. It's a world that was basically created by the likes of Cinema Sins and whatnot, that have created this like overly critical mindset towards media as a whole. And people just refuse to actually form their own opinions anymore. And this is obviously not everyone. But it's this mob mentality to where if you even have a slight disagreement on any popular viewpoint, you're going to get attacked. You're going to get like roasted in comments and stuff because you dare have your own opinion. And that goes for literally anything. Any movie that's seen as popular or good, if you have any opinion that's not saying that it's good, you're going to be attacked for it. If there's a movie that is universally considered bad, if you have an opinion and you're saying it's a good movie, you're going to get attacked for it. Because people don't know how to form their own opinions and they just latch on to the mob. They base their opinions, even if they've never seen the movie themselves, off of everyone else's opinion. Media criticism is a dead art at this point. Actual criticism of media is dead. What we have in its place is bandwagon criticism, which isn't criticism. It's just people like agreeing with each other without having actually made an opinion of their own. It's just unbelievable how much it sucks too, because it doesn't actually do anything to the industry one way or the other. And I think that's why they've been able to get away with it. Because movies being popular or not, just the only thing that it really does is determine whether or not more are made and how successful things are and whatnot. But that's how it was before too. It's just now it's skewed in a different way. And movies that should have received a lot more attention and love and focus and money don't. Movies that honestly weren't as deserving of it receive all of that and get like endless sequels that, ruin the point of the first movie. Looking at you, Avatar. Avatar should never have had a sequel. It makes no sense to have a sequel. It's a one and done movie, and it's all it ever needed. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm just sick of that entire kind of thing. And I know this has like very little to do with the actual movie we're reacting to today, but I just wanted to pad these pre-thoughts out because I didn't know what we were getting into. And so because of that, I just wanted to like say something. And this kind of just like naturally worked its way out, so. But Miss Meadows, like I said, I know nothing about it, and that's how I prefer to go into it. Because that way my viewpoints, my opinions on it are going to be more genuine. I'm not going to be forming thoughts and criticisms based on anything other than what I see. and how I perceive it. And that's how it should be done. So, we're going to get into this movie, but before we do, real quick, I want to remind you all that we have a Patreon now. If you haven't checked it out, we've had a Patreon since the start of the year, and we have some pretty cool rewards, if I do say so myself. You can go onto the Patreon, linked in the description below, to find rewards for multiple different tiers that give you things such as early access to reactions. Depending on your tier, depends on which types of reactions you get early access to. It starts with movies at $5, and then each tier above that adds in more reaction content. So you'll get early access, but what you get early access to just depends on the tier. There's also other rewards as well, such as getting to vote on exclusive polls in the future, getting to choose for things for me to specifically react to, and so on and so forth. Everything is listed in its entirety on the page. Check it out there. If you have any questions or thoughts or anything, please feel free to leave those in a comment. And the Patreon being so new and everything is still evolving. We're still figuring it out. It's my first time running this Patreon, so still trying to get things like squared away with that. But it's going well so far. Could be doing a little better. It does help me out a lot, especially since doing these videos both on this and the gaming channel are full time for me. But it is optional. You don't have to do the Patreon if you can't or don't want to. Obviously, I can't force you. All reactions will come to the channel anyway, the YouTube channel anyway. It's just early access and various other rewards for subscribing to the Patreon. So if you're able, if you want to, please feel free to do so. But if you're unable to, no worries. That being said, let's get to today's movie and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I think this movie is a great example of, like, what I was saying in the pre-thoughts. For those of you who are watching this on Patreon, you won't have seen the pre-thoughts, but I was talking about, like, how I don't tend to look into, like, critic thoughts or reviews or check out what people think about a movie prior to seeing it. Sometimes I might accidentally come across it, but I don't tend to look that stuff up because I want to actually have a genuine experience with the film. And this goes for any piece of media, not just movies, but I don't like that so much of society nowadays judges films based on what other people think of them, based on what the popular consensus is or what their favorite critics say, and they'll judge a film before they ever even see it, or even if they don't ever even see it. And I find that to be wrong, just straight up wrong. I find that to be not a good way to engage in media. But it's common. In fact, it's not only common, it's the common way that people engage with media nowadays, and it sucks. Because so many good movies are just deemed bad because it's the popular view on it. And so many bad movies are deemed good because it's the popular view. And mind you, it's all subjective, But the problem is people aren't forming their own opinions. They aren't like coming to these conclusions themselves. So it's not a genuine consensus. It's just jumping on the bandwagon. And that's what I don't like. And I feel like this movie, which came out, I think it said 2014. Let me check to be safe. I still have a thing up here. Yeah, 2014. This movie came out just over 10 years ago. So it's still fairly recent. This movie that I've never heard anyone talk about, I looked it up and it has bad ratings. It's considered to be a bad movie. Critic ratings are in the 20s, audience ratings are in the 40s. It is not well received. And I have to wonder if those thoughts are based solely on the popular viewpoint. People saw that others didn't like this movie, and so they just assumed it had to be bad. And so if they even watched it, they went into it with this preconceived notion and didn't give it a proper chance. And then I also wonder if some people watch this and were maybe thrown off by the like tone of it, which I feel like that could possibly be an aspect. Because again, it's all subjective. But if you're not making your own opinions, if you're not forming your own thoughts and just going along with what everyone else is saying, then what's the point? It's not truly your opinion at that point. It's not truly your view on the film. And so I just genuinely wonder, because this has been a thing for like over a decade now. So this having come out in 2014 and being reviewed on like Rotten Tomatoes or whatever else, it's like having this kind of score. It's like, yeah, this would be something that would still have been affected by this kind of ideology. And I'm saying all this because I mean, if I didn't make it clear through like my thoughts on like these negative reviews, I loved this. Not only loved this, I thought this was phenomenal. The tone, the weirdness of it, I feel like that probably did throw some people off. Some people who did just genuinely not like it were probably very put off by the just weird vibe that this movie gives. And it does give a weird vibe. It absolutely does. But I think that's actually one of the best parts of it. So many people are afraid to make weird movies these days. So many people have to like basically make films that just appeal to the Hollywood charm of things. And so many movies feel less real because of it. You go and watch a superhero film or an action movie, etc., etc. No one in those movies talks like real people. Or acts like real people. Most of the time, like, it's so unbelievable and ridiculous. And that's something we love about it. But it's some of those films just kind of like fit a mold these days. And they're made to fit a mold because the mold is what sells. It's what makes money. And that's all people care about. They're not interested in making good film. They're interested in making money. And it's like, I don't think those should be mutually exclusive. I think you can make money by making a good film. A24 showcases that. There's a lot of directors who are still able to be weird, and some of them do receive acclaim, but it's like any other director, any other filmmaker tries to do something like that, and it's like, oh, well, we don't know you, so you're not allowed to make a weird film. You're not allowed to be unconventional. We allow this other director to do so because they know how to do it in our eyes. They have experience with it. You're new. I don't know if this director is actually new or not. I'm just saying. Who's the director for this? Give me a second. Bring up the Wikipedia for this. This is directed by Karen Leigh Hopkins. So a woman, that's another point that a lot of people are going to have against her. And that's just going to be the case. Don't even try saying like in 2026 or even in 2014 that wasn't a thing. It absolutely still is. This isn't even her first work. Like, she's been working since like the 90s. Her first film was she wrote and executive produced Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. And she did Stepmom in 98, Because I Said So in 2007. So she had 3 movies that she worked on prior to this. She wasn't a director, but she was writer, executive producer on the first, and then screenwriter on the other 2, and co-writer in Stepmom as well. This was her directorial debut, and it does seem like it was independent. It premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival and everything. She's also done some television stuff, nothing I recognize, and has done some acting as well. Also, nothing I recognize. Oh, actually, no, The Running Man sounds familiar. I might have heard of that, but I've never seen it. And there's other things that are currently in development as well, including another directorial film that is a horror movie called Lil Holly O. I have heard nothing about that. But yeah, she's a fairly unknown, because even though she's done these various works, she's done still very little, and it seems like movies that are probably not heard of most of the time. This was also distributed by Entertainment One Films, which is not necessarily the biggest distributor. Produced by Myriad Pictures and Rob Carliner Films. So it kind of makes sense that this like would go under the radar for a lot of people. And then for this being kind of like this weirdly toned independent film, I can also see why some people would be a little put off from it. But I also feel like there is still biases there. Like, there are people who will be biased against a female director. It just is the case still. There absolutely will be people who will also be biased against independent films. There are plenty of people out there who don't like indie films. I don't know why, but there are. It's just, there's a lot of biases, and to a degree, everyone has biases that we work off of, that we, even if not even realizing it, we fall prey to. It's just a thing. But I feel like we have to try and, as best as we can, be aware of those biases and do whatever possible to get past them as best we can. Because obviously I don't think it's really fully possible to get rid of them altogether, because people are just going to have biases. That's how humanity works. But either way, we've talked about 10 minutes so far without having actually talked about the content of the movie. All I've mentioned is that I thought it was phenomenal. I loved it, but... And I mentioned it was weird in terms of tone and whatnot. So the movie obviously centers around the titular Miss Meadows. And at first it's not entirely clear where it's going, but it becomes more clear as it goes along, obviously. And even still takes you by surprise at times. Because Miss Meadows obviously is a story about this woman who is insanely emotionally damaged, who is traumatized to a point that it's affected her mental health to such an insane degree. She has these conversations in her head using a phone, but not actually calling because her mother's dead. She has these conversations in her head with her dead mother as a way of basically not being able to let go. Because she was a kid when that drive-by shooting happened at the wedding, and like her mother and multiple others were killed. It's like that would traumatize a kid greatly. And it's something she was never able to get over. She probably never had any help, never had any, like, therapy for it in any way. Which, again, isn't a bad thing. I have to specify that in multiple things I've reacted to. But getting therapy, getting help is a good thing. It's something that you should strive to do if you need it. And this might be a hot take, but I believe most people need it. The vast majority of people need some level of therapy, especially within the world we live in. And that's not an insult to people. I'm not trying to say that they're like they have mental health issues or anything. People need therapy because the world is fucked. The with politics, with everything else, with just horrific incidents happening constantly. It's like people need help with that. And not to mention just, there's just so much happening that can fuck a person up without them even fully realizing it. But in the case of Miss Meadows here, or Mary, she's mostly called Miss Meadows throughout the film. She never got over this. She has become a vigilante and is killing these bad people, these criminals, because of the emotional turmoil of that day. And most notably, because of the fact that, it was some criminal who killed her mother and the other people that died there. She feels like almost responsible as a survivor of that incident to act to make the world safer and better. And because she was a kid at the time that happened, it also has probably been the reason she's so endeared to children. She cares about kids so much. And it's probably because she knows what it's like to be a kid who has gone through some terrible, terrible things. It's a bit of an intense movie that once you start to realize what's going on, it makes it like that much more wild and insane and sad. Like when it was revealing that, her mother wasn't real and all, and what actually happened and all, it got to me. Like, tears started welling up. I started having a very, very strong emotional reaction because I felt so bad for her. And it completely recontextualized everything that had happened prior. Because I saw this, prior to that, I saw that this lady was like, kind of weird, kind of kooky, and I thought like, oh, maybe she's just... She's only at killing bad people and has like this like vigilante vibe with that, but I'm thinking maybe she's not okay in the head, and I'm thinking maybe there's something off there, and there was absolutely, but in a way that made it tragic and painful. And it made all of her good aspects, all of her positives, pop even more as well. Because it expressed why she's like so caring for children, why she genuinely tries to be such a nice, well-spoken individual. There's so much depth to her character that I personally can't properly express, because I'm not good at that. I feel like there's other people who are much more well-spoken than I who could definitely explain better all the intricacies of Miss Meadows' character. And you also have on top of this her relationship with the sheriff, who I found out through looking at the Wikipedia and stuff. His name is Mike Dunn. Apparently, his name Mike was mentioned once by the other cop, his friend. Um, when he was telling him to toss the ball, I kind of missed that. And then I think his nameplate or whatnot says Dunn, like Sheriff Dunn or whatnot. So um, it's like his name can be put together, but it's never actually said out loud, like outside of his friend calling him Mike. His full name is never like really said for most of the movie, and like it consistently repeats sheriff over and over, so you just think of him as sheriff. But you have this relationship that comes really quickly out of nowhere. It seems like they formed this relationship like within the course of a week, and we don't technically have a timetable for how long this lasts or if they've seen each other between as well. But it seems like it's within the scope of a week. They meet, they date, they kiss, and they get engaged in less than 7 days after having first met each other, which is insane. It's completely insane. And don't get me wrong. Like, you can absolutely find someone you click with pretty quickly, but I don't think it's healthy to marry someone who you've only known for a week. No matter how it goes. Because even if this relationship starts off really well, that's just the honeymoon phase. Things can quickly devolve if you find out there's not that much chemistry as you thought. It's just, it could end out really poorly. And considering they have a kid as well, and that's the entire reason he proposed to her, because, like, they got pregnant because they fucked. Also, really quickly after having met. And it's just like, there's so many aspects to this. The relationship adds an interesting dynamic for, like, the entire, oh, he's figuring out during the course of the movie that she's the vigilante. He still likes her a lot, so he doesn't want to, like, turn her in, but he does eventually have to confront her. And so the question kind of comes into play is, like, is he going to, like, actually do something, or is he going to forgive her because he likes her? And he chooses the latter option. He even helps bury it. Because he likes her. Although technically that's the wrong move. But we get kind of the vibe early on when it's mentioned that he ran her plates, and it's brought up that that's illegal and everything in the way that he did it. And so you kind of get this vibe that he's not, like, super invested in following the rules, which is stated that she is, generally speaking. Which technically, by the way, does make him a corrupt and bad cop. Because, like, doing the right thing there would absolutely have been to arrest her. Him, like, burying it for her just because he likes her is extremely bad, actually. And again, she was only killing bad people, like these psychopaths and murderers and, you know, a priest who was sexually assaulting children. People who, honestly, you could say deserve to die. But, like, as a cop, he's supposed to be held to a certain standard and fulfilling a certain duty that he was just willfully ignoring because he liked her, because he found her charming, because he found her pretty. And that's not good. It just isn't. But I don't think it's meant to be viewed that way. It's meant to be viewed as a choice he makes going against what he's supposed to do. Because he kind of believes in her actions. He kind of believes in the idea of vigilantism if it's genuinely making things better. And Miss Meadows is, you know, she's still killing people. And you could argue that that's wrong. That people should be arrested and tried and face justice. That just taking someone out like that doesn't help anything. And it's not going to like stop these crimes and make the world a better place necessarily. You can make all kinds of arguments for this stuff. But this movie is not trying to be like within that kind of moral and ethical space. It's not trying to make a statement on whether or not this is right. This movie is trying to make you like feel. It's trying to make you like feel things and have emotions, whatever those emotions might be, and just kind of come to your own conclusions and form your own views in a way, like you should with, reviewing media. But I feel like it's also there to be a good film. It's not trying to be Oscar bait or anything like that. It's not trying to like stick to a formula. It's a movie that's trying to be a very interesting, thought-provoking movie more than anything else. And I can appreciate that. You don't need to agree with the characters to enjoy their role in the film. Because I don't believe in vigilante justice. Even though I think that people like this deserve death, I don't believe in vigilante justice. I think that's entirely fucked action to take. And I definitely don't agree with what Sheriff Mike did. But at the same time, the emotions that this movie intentionally elicited from me to feel sorry for Miss Meadows, to the point where, like, again, got me to, like, tear up and almost full on cry. It's like, for the sake of the entertainment, you kind of get behind that. Especially in the end when you see that he's also followed his dreams of, playing the accordion and all. So, it's a fascinating movie, but it's not trying to take a moral standpoint. It's just trying to be entertaining and thought-provoking and allowing you to make your own standpoint as a viewer. But it is also trying to show you that there's multiple sides to every argument. That there's multiple things that influenced each of these characters' choices and their actions. And you have to acknowledge that cases may not always be black and white. And on top of all that, it's just super entertaining. Katie Holmes' performance as Miss Meadows is absolutely enrapturing. She's so charming with her manner of speech and her emotions, especially when her like kind of facade of almost pseudo perfection breaks. And it happens multiple times in the movie where you see her like kind of like break character almost. Such as in the hot dog restaurant, when she kills the guy, she starts shooting rapidly at him because she's like breaking. She's like falling apart. Her facade is falling apart. And I love those little moments because it shows us that this is a facade, that this is something, a wall she's putting up for protecting herself, basically, and her mind. It gives you a different viewpoint on the character than you otherwise would have. If it wasn't for things like that, yeah, you would probably see her as a bad guy. Or at the very least, much more questionable. But because of moments like that, you empathize with her. You feel bad for her. And you see someone who is just incredibly broken taking actions that feel right to them because of the events that they've gone through. And like, I don't condone vigilantism and would never condone this kind of thing in real life, even if someone were going through heavy trauma like that has never been resolved throughout their lives. That's still not okay and something I never would condone. But I'm also not going to say that I feel sorry for people like that, horrific murderers and psychopaths and child molesters. I'm not going to feel sorry when they're killed. I won't condone their killing, but I'm not going to feel sorry about their deaths when they were putting such horrific evil into the world. Especially child molesters. Like, fuck them. They absolutely deserve death. But again, it's a more nuanced take that I don't think you should or really can't look at in fully black or white. Trying to view something like that, like in one solid way, again, I don't think really helps anyone. You need to, like, view a person, as a human, as someone who has multiple facets and sides to them. And you see a lot of that in this film. And I love the weirdness of this too. The way it's shot, the way the characters like talk and act. Like I talked about how in a lot of these action and superhero movies and stuff, characters don't talk like human beings actually talk in real life. And you could say that about Miss Meadows in this. The children were super realistic, by the way. Like, they did a phenomenal job with the children because they felt like children. Even, like every single one of them. The kid who was being molested and, like, when he had to run away and was, like, so scared to get away because he had to be there on time. It's like, that was such a good, real performance, which makes it even more fucked up and horrible, but still. It was such a good performance. These kids did great. But, like, Miss Meadows being weird and out there is literally the intent. She's going through heavily unresolved trauma and is putting on this mask as a form of coping mechanism. And she's worn it for so long, so much of her life, that it's all she knows. And so it has kind of become a part of her. So, yeah, she's supposed to be weird. She's supposed to talk unnaturally. But, like, Sheriff Mike, his friend, other adults we occasionally see, talk mostly like real people. The sheriff especially, like, feels very real. And it's like, yeah, there's other characters who are a bit over the top, but usually they're, like, the villains of it. Or at least forces that seem more antagonistic. Like, you wouldn't call, like, the principal a villain, but, like, during that one scene you see Miss Meadows interacting with her, she's kind of antagonistic towards Miss Meadows. And so she's a little over the top with it. Skylar, a little over the top with it. But even then, none of them are as over the top as, like, characters usually get in a lot of these movies. And again, sometimes, like, the over-the-top ridiculousness can be entertaining, and sometimes it can be something you look forward to. But I like it when movies can have portrayals of characters that feel more real, that feel more authentic. And even with the mask that she puts on, even with all the fakeness of her personality that was forged from this trauma, Miss Meadows putting on that mask and the way she, like, exaggerates everything and all of that, it also does feel real. Like, a lot of people with trauma will do shit like that. It's this movie feels authentic in a lot of ways because it's so weird and awkward and kind of just crazy at points. And that's a big appeal of it. I understand that a movie like this definitely won't work for everyone. I understand that not everyone will find that appealing. And that's fine. If you genuinely believe that, that's fine. But please, when you watch this movie or other movies, just watch them with fresh eyes, as you best can most of the time. Because sometimes you might get spoiled on something here and there, but do your best to watch movies with fresh eyes, because it gives you a more genuine experience and makes your views on it, even if you don't like it, actually matter. When you're just forming your opinions off of someone else's review and stuff, it's like, that's not your opinion. It's just not. It's not an opinion. It's just, copying. And so, if you genuinely just weren't a fan of this movie for one reason or another, that's fine. I'm not going to hate on anyone, and I'm not going to tell anyone they're wrong for not liking a movie or a game or something else that I happen to like. I'm not going to say that anyone shouldn't believe that a movie is bad or a movie is good if it contradicts my own views. I would never do that. But I just don't like it when people will form opinions on a movie without even seeing it or giving it a chance in any way, shape, or form. And I don't like when people just choose to look at a review or something and determine what they're going to think about a movie just from that before they even go and see it in theaters or on streaming or wherever. So I believe that that this movie, in my genuine honest opinions, having never heard of this prior to watching it, prior to it being requested of me, having known nothing about it going into it, I think this movie is phenomenal. And I feel like some people, I know a lot of people would disagree based on I guess the popular consensus of this film. I think that this movie could possibly be a perfect film. One of the very few movies that I consider perfect. I have a list of that. I'm not 100% on that though yet, because I did just watch it. I do have some recency bias, and I do have to let that sit for a bit before I can determine that. But that's how much I genuinely love this. I was so engrossed and invested. There was no wasted scene, no wasted moment of this movie. Everything felt intentional, and I was just enthralled by everything that was unraveling as it went along. I based on the reviews, I do find this film to be severely underrated. And I don't agree with the reviews. And again, it's everyone's entitled to their opinion, but that means that everyone is entitled to an opinion. And and quality of media is subjective by nature. And so that means there is never going to be a 100% 100% consistent, that's the word I was trying to think of, view on any movie. There's no such thing as a movie that's 100% beloved. And there never will be. There's no such thing as a movie that is 100% hated, and there never will be. Because there's always at least a single person out there who will always have a differing opinion, and that makes it subjective by nature. And in the case of something like this, I may be in the minority. Not only in people liking this film, but also thinking it was that good to possibly be on my list of perfect films. I may be in the minority there, but that is my genuine opinion. And I'm entitled to that, just as someone who doesn't like it is entitled to that opinion. So sorry for kind of going back and forth a lot and rambling on and on. These have been some pretty long afterthoughts, but when I come across a movie like this, I just have to talk. I just have to really let my thoughts and emotions out, and this movie just really impressed me. And even if I find that I wouldn't consider it perfect, it's still up there. Even if I don't consider it one of the few perfect movies I've seen, it's still a 5 out of 5 stars. Or 10 out of 10 equivalently. It's just not exactly perfect. And yes, a movie can be rated 5 out of 5 stars without being perfect. Perfect is a completely separate ranking. I will always stand by that. Perfection is almost unheard of, which is why out of all of the movies I've seen in my life, there's a handful of them that a very small amount, 1% of all the movies I've seen in my life, I would consider perfect. Probably less than 1%. I haven't exacted that out, but yeah, it's very, very little. It takes a lot for me to see a movie that way. It has to really impress me, and this movie just absolutely succeeded at that. So tell me your thoughts down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Thank you to Venom for donating, because once again, this is a movie that I have never heard of prior to it being donated for and would have never seen otherwise, and so I'm very thankful that I got the chance to see it today. But for now, yeah, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.